What is going on, guys? It is Dylan here. Today we'll be going over a ticker symbol analysis on the ticker symbol COIN, Coinbase. Coinbase is in a very, very critical spot, guys. Since last talking about the stock, picking it up in this descending channel, we started covering right at this area where we expected a breakout, having this nice tight pennant at the end of this channel. Textbook 101, guys, retracting back down to these lows. Since then, we did get the breakout of the channel, consolidating for about a week or two before having that very, very nice move gapping up. Since then, there's been a lot of eyeballs on coin. As we clearly see, guys, the volume shows. Don't take my word for it. Just look at the volume. And a lot of eyeballs on coin. Of course, a very important spot for the stock. So with that being said, guys, we'll use a variety of different technical analysis techniques dispersed across a couple different time frames, being the daily, weekly, and hourly, to get a very comprehensive, in-depth price prediction for the next few days and or weeks. With that being said, guys, let's go start over on the weekly time frame. So on the weekly time frame, guys, we are seeing a massive cup and handle. And these kind of cup and handles typically have a better structural breakout, considering that the pressure is still there amongst the trend lines, as we clearly see, guys, textbook, but it's a little bit harder to see. And these kind of patterns typically yield better results, as retail buyers typically aren't, all over these perfect textbook ones, more or less smart money. So with that being said, guys, you see the cup and handle formation really starting all the way around these highs. You're having this very exciting movement, breaking the top of this descending resistance marker. I remember it like it was yesterday, guys, around that 20 to 21 time. We had this very nice breakout on coin before being short-lived, having this very, very nasty green to red reversal, pressing all the way back down to this support level for crashing below it, reaching all the way to these very painful moments for coin investors. Not really doing nothing, guys, for a few years, for curling back up, forming the other part of that cup. Right now we have that very nice cup and handle, going sideways for quite some time, being very, very disciplined within this trend line. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a ton of touch points on the weekly time frame, guys. We did see the breakout on coin for it being short-lived, pulling right back down into these constraints, bouncing to the support level, which we mentioned on the channel in the last video with that nice bullish engulfing, right? And then we have seen that trend line pick back up for multiple touch points on the weekly and the breakout. So we are seeing a cup and handle breakout on the weekly, and we mentioned it's a little bit harder to see, which is even why I'm more bullish on it, guys. These awkward kind of formations can give even more upsides. We like a very similar situation. Tesla, we mentioned that Tesla bull flag down here, pressing out with that bull flag. Not a lot of people seen this bull flag here, breaking out that thin red candle, and you see an explosive move up. So, these kind of weird formations, guys, typically do yield bigger results. But centering back to coin, guys, on the weekly time frame, we've seen this massive move up, which is good, guys. It's very, very good. And as far as a weekly perspective, over the next few weeks and months to come, guys, you got to be bullish on coin as we've exited this massive structural breakout, right? Picking up buyers, picking up a bid from these areas, and seeing that really big liquidity presence moving up. So we have seen some short-term pullback of course, stock price just gapped up all the way up, which we mentioned in the last video is a possibility. Maybe we get a little bit of a pullback, but as far as a weekly structural breakout, having that fake out, right? Breaking out of this cup and handle previously, running up before breaking out, really breaking down, really just seeming just negative, guys. Maybe this was just a false breakout all along, but kind of a double whammy, reversed once again, right, with some nice news. So on the weekly time frame, over the next few weeks, guys, I'm really talking, weeks out, months out, we should be expecting coin stock to do very, very well. Just looking off the data, yes, we are approaching these major resistance levels, being in this rough area on the weekly. So it makes sense that we're pulling back a little bit on the weekly, but as far as a structural, spot, guys, you got to be bullish here, as within the psychology of the cup and handle, it's very, very clean and bullish. And this is just not the spot short sellers really want to step up. It's just, even thinking about it from a short seller perspective, what is really in it? There's not really a lot of RR in this trade, and it just looks very good, guys. So definitely bullish as far as a weekly perspective. Not a strong opinion on the next few weekly candles. We are seeing the beginning of a weekly bearish engulfing pattern, which is bearish for sure, guys, especially being this inverted hammer candle after. So The next two candles definitely being pretty bearish, guys, but assuming we have this very nice big wide bar pressing up right out of that zone, it's hard to be super, super bearish on the weekly structure, just seeing this massive, massive breakout of this trend line. So with that being said, guys, we don't have the best read as far as the next short term, the next week or two on coin. But as far as the next, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, months, definitely got to be bullish, guys. As an investor, I think you got to be pretty happy in these spots considering the weekly structure. With that being said, let's go shift over to the daily to get a little bit more of a medium term analysis. So on the daily time frame, guys, you clearly see we kind of fake breaked out this 265 level we mentioned in the last video. This 265 really just being that spot, man, where the stock got above previously, had that huge breakout, consolidation for dropping these lows, right? But once again, jump below it momentarily for bouncing right up over it, right? Bouncing right up over it, hovering on it perfectly for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, coming up, testing up once again, 13 days rejection. So we clearly see this rough 265 area has been some major resistance. And if you want to take this as a general gauge and say that's, where we fell, I don't hate that at all, guys. We actually will do that. As there's a lot of touch points within this rough area. And seeing stock price get a little bit over that and kind of fake breakout, it does lead to believe that this is not exactly a 265 zone. It's more or less, 265 to 268, that general area. So with that being said, guys, you do see a false breakout on the daily time frame. But once again, it centers back, guys, to the weekly, having this massive gap up after retracting from these lows. It's hard to be quite too bearish. Within the next 1 or 2 days, we would be bearish just considering these candles, but it's very hard, guys. We have this, right? We have this support level right here. So who's to say that we won't chat this and immediately come back up and retest? Really, guys, there's not a lot of data either way around to say what coin will do within the next few days. It's just hard to say. You go on the channel, guys, you've been following over the last couple of weeks since we started the channel. I've been doing this a long time, guys. I have no reason to lie to you guys. Don't really have a strong, daily read, and I'm not afraid to say that, guys, on coin daily time frame. It's a little bit more in the air is we're seeing, some false breakout signs being negative, right, after kind of sloping up, essentially being that rounding top. But once again, guys, we're breaking a huge structural perspective. We're breaking this descending resistance. Even on the daily, we see this, descending resistance with a ton of touch points, guys. Clear as day, right? Even if we want to get rid of all these lines, you see this rough channel moving down, the support being here, and this resistance being here, exiting this huge descending channel, right? Bouncing off these lows. It's very hard to be bearish, despite seeing a little bit of some negative candles after this, rejection of these highs. So that being said, guys, let's go jump over to the hourly time frame to get a little bit more of a short-term analysis, see if the hourly offers some things that daily doesn't. So on the hourly time frame, guys, we definitely do see a potential trend that may or may not start to form. Say stock price does pull back down to this zone, which is some very nice support, guys. This is the number one support we'll be watching and following on the channel as we continue to break down coin, which is coincidentally on that 250 psychological level, and the floor being that 248.50 rough zone. So, we will be following this, of course, guys, but you do see 1, 2, 3, 4 ascending trend lines, that's mirroring right at this level. So if we do see stock come down, right, come down to this level, maybe test for 1 hour, 2, 3, likely a couple hours before coming back up. Then in that case, guys, we have more of a short-term trend to watch. But as of now, guys, we will make this a light blue line as it's not quite affirmed yet. But we will be watching that as of now. Definitely seeing that fake breakout over these highs. Really, coin was flagging out. We kind of seen it flagged out, getting really, really tight. Moving up in this major level, it had to pick a side. It had to pick a side, reaching to the end of this, the end of the apex of this pattern, guys. It's getting very, very tight. It's sitting in resistance. It's being worked against this, the top of this channel and the bottom of this channel moving up. So the buyers have to win pressing it up and break out, or the sellers have to win. And considering we break out from this level not too long ago, a little bit more sellers hanging around, and we did collapse below. So as far as an hourly perspective, you would expect us to pull back down to this zone, but it definitely doesn't mean we have to, guys. Doesn't mean we have to, but you kind of would expect that as far as an hourly perspective. But with that being said, guys, get a really zoomed out perspective just to really see where we're at. Of course, we've seen this right kind of on the hourly, which is such a beautiful setup, guys. We mentioned in the last video, had that very nice movement since we sent that alert on the channel of 20%. So really, as a buyer, this is the main thing we're getting at on the hourly, guys. You're winning. You're winning. We exited this descending channel. We bounced up. We broke out of this nice double confirmation setup, being pressed against this 184 level, this pennant, and the end of this channel, right? And now we're up about 45% from that breakout we've alerted, guys. Right, of course, having that very, very bullish news, of course, that everyone knows about on coin. So as of now, guys, the buyers are definitely winning. We're seeing these early signs of maybe sellers stepping in, but it is quite hard to say. Sometimes we break down stocks, guys. It's a little bit more cut, clear, dry, and we have a very, very simple bias. But as of now, it's a little bit more in the air. We will be following coin a couple times a week, but as of now, we'll be watching these major support levels, right, being at 248.50 to that 250. This will really offer and give us a bias as far as what will happen in the next few days. If we come down and, like we said, get that bounce, well, then in that point, we'll be retesting these highs. And once again, if we break these highs, guys, there's really a lot of run between these two zones, being that big, $20 gap, and then another big gap. So more or less, guys, as of now, from a big grand scheme of things, we have to have a bullish perspective, considering the weekly structure, these buyers stepping up in these major lows, and we're still ascending over the last few years, despite having, some negative fake breakouts in these areas. Last thing we'll go over before we get off the video, guys, is Bitcoin. Is of course, Bitcoin is huge, 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 huge for CoinBase. We alerted the breakout on the channel very, very predictably, once we broke out and bounced from these lows over here and this big bull flag. So we're continuing to see that bull flag continuation on Bitcoin, just being very, very strong, breaking all-time highs as we predicted down to these 80K levels. As of now, we're seeing a little bit more of a test than we have amongst this huge whole run. So even in theory, if Bitcoin kind of does just hang out on this big, big, big resistance level and kind of just sits around, that's very good, guys. It's actually best case scenario for the buyers, as if we just continue to bounce at this point and just straight to the moon, eventually stock has to pull back. It just has to. Bitcoin is prone to have these massive movements, but once you see that big rejection, you will expect a yank back. So best case scenario, honestly, for the bulls, and I said this right at these candles over here, if you were following those videos, guys, is that we see some consolidation, just a little bit of a cool off before a higher move up. And we're seeing a very mirrored image of that now. So, the bottom of these candles definitely will show some, what will happen as far as likely the next few days. If we do break that 106,750 level, well, then in that case, we did base out this level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row after pressing against it 1, 2, 3, grabbing that big, nice wide bar. So we have a lot of touch points within this area that will definitely be, the most major level as far as a short-term perspective on Bitcoin. But as of now, guys, stock is trending up. We're still in this breakout, breaking over all-time highs, being strong, despite, being a little bit overextended. We do expect maybe some consolidation to happen. And if not, even if stock price does retrace, still got to be bullish, guys. We're moving up. Even if we do pull back to say, these $100,000 levels bounce, we're still moving in a bullish projection, setting higher lows and highs. So with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, all that. A little bit of a mental math breaking down the stock. I don't think a lot of guys would want to break this down, as there's just a lot of back and forth energy. But if you found any value in the video, consider liking and subscribing, guys. I'd appreciate that. We'll cover coin a couple times a week. That being said, keep on these major marker points, and peace.